Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Filmcast, the official podcast of slashfilm.com. My name is David Chen, and with me are
Devindra Hardware.
And I'm Quigley.
Joining us today, he is the co-host of the popular geek video podcast, The Totally Rad Show, Jeff Kanata. Welcome back to the Filmcast.
Hey, I've missed you guys.
We have missed you so much, Jeffrey. So much. You guys, it was July 4th this week. Anyone do anything cool?
I watched some fireworks and ate some barbecue. I think those are the requirements.
I agree.
I met the requirements, and I'm happy.
I agree. I did the same. I actually didn't even need to leave my apartment. So
I didn't do that, but I did double feature Jumanji and Zathura.
Nice.
Wow.
Nice.
Were you
Very
trapped
cool.
under something?
Anyway, you can, if you'd like, you can find my fireworks pictures at davechen.net. I thought it turned out quite well. But in any case, if you're just tuning into the Filmcast for the first time, you can find all of our episodes at slashfilmcast.com. Email us, let us know what you think of the podcast at slashfilmcast@gmail.com. And what we're going to do for you guys today, we're going to start off with a little bit more discussion about 3D TVs, move on into what we've been watching, and then go straight into our review this week of The Amazing Spider-Man, the newest Spider-Man film by director Mark Webb. So let's begin. I want to say I love you guys. And by you guys, I'm not talking about the co-hosts on the show. I'm talking about you guys, our listeners. I obviously don't love you guys. But I do love our listeners because every week, it's constantly an educational process to do the Filmcast. And in fact, last week we got a ton of emails about our discussion about 3D TVs. Many of you listening to this probably sent an email about it. So you know that we got a lot of emails about it. And again,
I know you got one.
A lot of great information. Very good. Very good, Jeff. Very good use of logic there. So yeah, we got a lot of emails, many of them saying the same thing. So I'm just going to read a couple of them that I thought were particularly illuminating. And we'll start with the most dickish email. This is from Tyler from Fredericksburg, Virginia. I got to be honest, guys. I was taken aback by your seeming lack of knowledge about 3D HD TVs. After all, you guys clearly are quite tech savvy, especially you, Devindra. Don't you write about tech at venturebeat.com?
Yeah, we're right about 3D TVs every day, I guess.
I actually am a home theater sales supervisor for a large consumer electronics retailer that people, well, I'm not even going to go into what he says there. Active 3D glasses, while they cost more, allow for a full 1080p resolution to be displayed, but they also chop the frame rate in half. Luckily for you, Dave, you got a plasma, thus pretty much negating the refresh rate issue. There are now passive 3D glasses seen in LG 3D TVs. Unfortunately, passive glasses cuts the resolution in half. So while the glasses are cheap as hell, their picture suffers immensely. It may cost more, but I feel active is still better, but to each his own. You guys are film buffs. How have you not seen a Blu-ray release with separate versions for 3D, Blu-ray, and DVD? Seems foreign to me, but that is why they release 2D and 3D versions together, Dave, so you don't buy multiple versions over and over. So long as you have the foresight to pick up the 3D version, even if you don't have a 3D TV yet, as I did with Hugo, if you bought How to Train Your Dragon in 3D when it was first released, then your dilemma would be resolved. It's not
Clearly
the studio.
it's your fault.
It's my fault. It's my fault. It's not the studio's fault. They wanted you to spend the extra $5, but they'll gladly take your $30 to rebuy it. Avatar has never been released as a separate 3D release. The only way to get it was to buy a Panasonic 3D TV or Blu-ray. Unfortunately, they don't package them with the TVs anymore, which is why you didn't get a copy, Dave. Panasonic donated their cameras to the making of Avatar, so long as they held exclusive rights to the film. That contract should be up this year. Expect a proper 3D release this holiday, I suspect. As for 3D TVs in general, even if you have no interest in 3D, get a 3D TV. They have two video processors designed to display two images. If you're watching 2D, then you have two brains doing the jobs of one, better clarity and color accuracy. Side note, not sure, this is Dave Chen talking. I don't know how true that is, so if you have any commentary on that, let us know at /filmcast@gmail.com. And finally, as for your choice of TV, Dave, excellent. Panasonic plasmas are second to none. Don't know the model you got, either UT50, ST50, GT50, or my favorite, the VT50, but it was a good buy. Keep up the awesome work. So that's from Tyler from Fredericksburg, Virginia. Again, a little bit dickish there.
Well,
but,
one comment on that. I think the fact that even we're a little confused about all this stuff kind of goes to show. So we're the film buffs, right? We're the gadget geeks, and then what are the normal people thinking? Like, what do they know?
Well, I don't know if I want to make that separation, Devindra, but I will.
I think that shows like this is a big clusterfuck of like I don't know what the tech is. There's so much stuff going on.
Yeah,
and it's not really clear like what you need as a consumer other than
and let me just be clear. Devindra's not implying that we're smarter than people. It's just that we try to keep up with these things.
Well, people have
She's
heard
talking
us
about the
argue about the
normies.
benefits
Yeah,
of like HD DVD and Blu-ray and stupid shit that nobody cares about.
Yeah.
It's like this
Like
is
we
should be on that
geek
level.
out about that stuff, and even for us, it's a little bit complicated. But Jeff Kanata, you have a 3D TV, right?
I do.
Which type of TV do you have?
I have the LG, but I have to freely admit that I won mine. So I didn't select it. I happened to win the top of the line LG model for this year. And I love it. It is passive, and I'm very pleased by that because I don't like the active glasses. I don't find the image to be better, as your author of your email there seems to indicate. And a lot of people, my co-host Dan Trachtenberg included, are convinced that active is better. I personally, from my personal experience, I don't like the weight of the glasses. I don't like the having to charge them stuff, and I actually don't think for my eyes that image is a better image. So I really like the passive, and I love my TV and watching, like for example, the Lion King 3D Blu-ray, and I was watching Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. It looks spectacular on my television in passive. So, and I like the fact that I can pass out 14 pairs of glasses to my friends when they come over and say, "Hey, look how cool this looks."
Wow. So you bought 14 pairs of glasses just for the time?
It came with 9 pairs of glasses.
Whoa.
And any of the passive glasses that you get anywhere also work on it. So I happen to have I went to the Titanic 3D press thing, and they gave us commemorative glasses, and I picked up glasses here and there. So all of them work fine. So it's I can just hand them out to whoever comes over.
What's that?
It's pretty cool.
A single standard that you can use different products on. That's amazing.
I know. It sounds intuitive, doesn't it?
Yeah.
All right. Well, now you're making me feel stupid for having the active TV, which I still don't have glasses for, by the way. But so in terms of Avatar getting a 3D release later this year, I'm looking forward to it. But Jeff, first of all, it sounds like you're living La Vida Loca over there. If you're having if having 10 people over is a common enough occurrence for you that you need to have 3D glasses for it.
Well, once they hear that you have a 3D television, try to stop them from coming over.
They come flocking all the time.
That's right. People on the street.
Yeah.
Dave, for you, I guess it doesn't matter, right? Either way, you'll probably be sitting alone.
That's right.
With a pair of charged-up glasses.
But he'll be looking outside his window because he can see everything.
Yeah,
right?
it's just me by myself watching the 3D TV. But
there'll be 3D TV and a bit of rear window going on.
Yeah, that's exactly that actually describes my life in totality right now. Also, this person points out, oh, well, you should have had the foresight to buy a 3D TV. I mean, or to buy the 3D version of it. First of all, it's not entirely clear to me that the 3D version has as many special features as the non-3D version in some cases. I don't think it's always a situation where, you just buy the more expensive one and it'll have everything the least expensive ones have. For instance, the Avatar 3D that was bundled with TVs had no special features. It was bare bones.
Right.
So that is not worth spending $150 on. But anyway, yeah. So that was part one of why I didn't buy the 3D version, and part two is also I honestly just did not foresee that I would ever own a 3D TV because why would I think that I would? But now I do, and now I have to deal with that problem. It's very, very taxing.
I already pre-ordered the big bad Avengers 3D Blu-ray bundle, which seems to be, unless I misread all there's numerous versions, but unless I misread it, it seems like that is the case, that it's cumulative and that everything that a previous version has, the next bump up also has, plus the 3D.
That's true. Yeah, no, I believe that is true of the Avengers. I'm saying it's not. I don't think it's necessarily true of all previous 3D releases. So.
Right. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like the one you're describing that doesn't have it is the one that was strictly like a television exclusive, it came with the TV. Whereas I think what Jeff is saying is actually generally true.
All right,
it's like
fair enough.
all of them come like they're like, oh yeah, they have the Blu-ray, and then on top of that they have the 3D Blu-ray.
All right.
And there were weird releases with Avatar too, because there was like a full Blu-ray release that was just a general Blu-ray release that was just like for PQ. You know, it was just like there's nothing else on this except the movie. We had it at the super highest resolution. We used every bit of data on that Blu-ray for the you know, it's weird. So
Yeah. Well, on this topic, Danish also writes in the following points. How to Train Your Dragon on 3D Blu-ray is fantastic, without a doubt worth the price of the disc and glasses by itself. I've watched it in 3D countless times, and it is currently unmatched, even by Avatar, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, Caroline, Monster House. Even by Avatar, period. Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, Caroline, Monster House, Hugo, and Tintin are also very good. But I agree that apart from these examples, the state of 3D Blu-rays could be a lot better. There's currently no way to rent 3D Blu-rays, and they remain more expensive than their 2D counterparts. But they do often contain the 2D version. Video games, unlike movies, do not need separate versions and are ready to play in 3D. 75% of my 3D use comes from games. Uncharted 3, Shadow of the Colossus, MotorStorm, Crysis 2 are some examples of the very best 3D games have to offer. Like How to Train Your Dragon, Uncharted 3 is worth the price of a pair of glasses alone. It's truly breathtaking. Some of the later chapters may still be my favorite 3D experience I've ever had. I'm going to pause here for a moment. Jeff Kanata, have you done 3D gaming on your TV?
I have. I have.
What's been your experience?
Uncharted 3, Gears of War 3. Yes, they are really awesome experiences, and in fact, that's what I was most excited about was gaming in 3D with my new television. I have to say though, it does seem like there are some sacrifices when they go to 3D. You're losing some of the anti-aliasing, and it shows. Yeah. I was a little disappointed with how jaggy some of the stuff looks in 3D, and so it's a trade-off, and it's not always a trade-off I want to make. But I do like the experience. Some of the best experiences for my money are the smaller games that don't necessarily push the system to its limit. Like Super Stardust HD in 3D is spectacular because it's still crisp and clear, and it works really well in 3D. So.
Right, that's a PSN game, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
All right, now I have to check it out, even though I still don't have the 3D glasses. But so, any of you guys, Devindra, you done 3D gaming?
No, not really.
Right.
What Jeff is saying is true. Like because the console has to render the game twice,
right.
Pretty much that you take that graphical hit, and I guess Sony's investment in like the PS3 and all that crazy hardware is actually paying off now when it comes to 3D. But even then,
7 years later, it's finally made a difference.
Look, guys, we knew this was going to happen all along. Clearly.
Dinesh also points out YouTube. If you have a smart TV or an Xbox, you can watch 3D content on YouTube by selecting 3D side-by-side on the video, then choosing the 2D to 3D side-by-side option on the TV. This works very well. The only difference between this and the 3D Blu-ray is you get half the resolution because the two images are presented at once rather than being interlaced. But it looks very good. You can also download 3D content presented this way and play it on your TV. Search for 3D HSBS, which stands for half side-by-side, whenever you download content. I do this pretty regularly. The legal ones, obviously. So,
you know what I was really surprised about is the convert to 3D feature on my television. I would have assumed that it would be absolute garbage and stupid and not work. But it works surprisingly well. Now, that said, it's something that I don't think I would ever use, but just testing it out and showing it to people and showing off like, hey, look, it's a Coors Light commercial, and it's regular television that we're watching, and it's all 3D for some reason. It actually works surprisingly well.
Well, Jeff, when I have like 15 people I can invite over to show that off to, I'll be sure to do that. So I can always. Will soon, a man can dream. A man can dream.
Don't forget to charge your glasses.
Thanks, Adam. All right, guys. Well, I think that's it for listener mail. You can always email us, and we really appreciate it at /filmcast@gmail.com. And it's always helpful to hear the pearls of knowledge from our listeners out there. Really appreciate it. Let's move on to what we've been watching this week. Jeff Kanata, what have you been watching?
I have two movies to share with you. The first is a movie that I'm absolutely in love with, and I suspect that later this month when it arrives on video on demand and stuff, everyone is going to be talking about it because it is hilarious. It's a Danish movie called Clown, spelled with a K, and it's subtitled. It is Danish, but I understand that it's based on a very popular Danish television show, which is sort of like Curb Your Enthusiasm. It's very much that same uncomfortable humor where these guys have the best intentions and try to do the right thing, but they end up doing the absolute wrong thing, and hilarity ensues. In the film, it is a wonderful premise. It's these two guys that have decided they're going to go on a sex vacation. Two guys with relationships, by the way, but they're going to go on this canoe trip and hit brothels and try to pick up on girls the whole time. And right before they leave, the main character's girlfriend tells him that she's pregnant, but that she isn't sure she wants to keep the child because he would be such a terrible father. So in order to prove that he would be a great father, he basically kidnaps a child friend of the family and takes him on this vacation with him to prove that he can be a great chaperone. And everything goes wrong. And it is one of the funniest movies I have seen in years. It basically, it has the same sort of feel and tone of something like The Hangover, but does that so much better. It's that same over-the-top, sexual, kind of gross-out humor, but done with such panache and style. It is really, really funny, and I highly recommend it.
Very cool. I missed the opportunity to see this film at the Seattle International Film Festival, but I believe this is being distributed by Drafthouse Films.
Yes, that's correct.
The newest sort of film distributing arm of the Alamo Drafthouse series of theaters. So
that's right.
Had a chance to talk with Tim League actually while he was here, and I told him he was the future of movies. So,
I
because
hope you're right.
I think he is. But I also have heard great things about Clown, spelled with a K.
Mm-hmm.
And as you say, Jeff, out in video on demand later this year. I'll look forward to checking it out.
Yeah, you should. I mean, I watched it by myself, and which is not a place where you usually laugh out loud alone in your house.
What happened to your 15 friends, though, Jeff?
They they wanted to watch stuff in 3D, and that wasn't in 3D.
All right. Anyway, so you're saying even by yourself, the film was very funny.
Yes. So I'm sure you'll enjoy it.
Thanks. I'll take that not as a dig. Jeff Canada, what else have you been watching this week?
Another movie I had a chance to watch is a documentary called "Fake It So Real," and it is about a group of guys that run a what they consider a professional wrestling organization in North Carolina, but it is small time, going to gyms and renting out the gym and putting on a professional wrestling show, and it is riveting entertainment. I mean, it is hard to watch at times. It's depressing. It's these guys who are very raw and very real and come from a very rural, I would venture to say, uneducated kind of background, and kind of just trying to make it and getting by with passion and a lot of effort and not making any money and kind of injuring themselves. And you have a variety of stories because it sort of follows each guy that's part of this little federation that they have and talks about their story and their what character that they've sort of invented for themselves for their wrestling. It's hard to watch in a lot of places. There's a lot of homophobia in these guys and a lot of contradictions in the kind of lifestyles that they're living. But it is a really interesting documentary seeing the lives that these guys lead in this small town and just basically destroying their own bodies to make $5 or $6 a night. It's hard to watch.
The movie is Keep It So Real. Jeff, how did you watch this film?
It's Fake It So Real.
Oh,
actually.
sorry. Fake It So Real. My bad. And how did you watch it?
The guys that made it, they contacted me and because they know I'm a fan of wrestling, and they alerted me to the fact I hadn't heard of it, but it's available on iTunes, so you can get it on iTunes if you're interested. And I would recommend it if you have even a passing interest in wrestling. It's kind of about how, yes, it's fake, but my God, it's the injuries that they suffer are real, the lives that they lead are very real, and it's guys who really care about what they're doing, and there's a certain beauty to that, even if the details are a little shocking and uncomfortable.
All right. Fake It So Real by director Robert Greene is available on iTunes. $4 to rent, $10 to buy. This reminds me in some ways actually of Undefeated, that football documentary, if you know what I'm talking about, Jeff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which we reviewed on the Slash Filmcast like a bunch of months ago, but It still has no DVD release, but keep that on your radar as well. Undefeated, if you have a chance. And it's kind of like very documentary style. It's a documentary about a small town football team. Sounds similar to this for a different sport. Anyway, let's move on. Devindra Hardwar, what have you been watching this week?
Yeah, I saw the first 2 episodes of The Newsroom, which I know we were kind of excited about, but I guess approaching the premiere of this, the critics' reviews started dropping, and people were kind of eviscerating.
They were
this
vicious.
show.
Vicious. Yeah.
It was pretty. I was worried it was going to be like another Studio 60 situation, which had like good moments, but I can understand why that show didn't live on. So this one, it feels like a pretty typical Aaron Sorkin show, right? You have the fast-paced workplace. You have the whole crew of people who have like clearly all these various relationships with each other, and you have like the older mentor character. Sorkin is definitely like playing this template that he has since Sports Night. But there are a lot of things I really like about it. I actually like the characters, and that's something that really reminds me of Sports Night 2, because even though that one was just like behind the scenes of a sports show, the characters you actually grew to love in many ways. So, Jeff Daniels' character is just pretty much an asshole in this, but there's something else going on there that I find interesting. Emily Mortimer, who's his like love interest / producer. And I also really love Sam Waterston in the show, because he really, I don't know, it's like he stepped off the set of Law and Order, and now he just gets to be like this crazy, awesome old dude who threatens to beat people up. And I find that hilarious. So it's fun to watch. I love hearing Sorkin's dialogue. The big problem with the show is the fact that they're taking real news stories and kind of creating this artificial, setup around it. So,
halfway through the first episode, you find like the date flashes on screen in an M. Night Shyamalan style twist. You realize that the newsroom is taking place in the past.
Yeah, around actual
news events that have occurred in the recent past.
And I love when
I think that's brilliant. I think it's a brilliant conceit.
It's definitely interesting, but it's also very dangerous, right? In the first episode, you have the
Deepwater Horizon.
Yeah, Deepwater Horizon thing, and it's interesting to see it start happening, but then it kind of shows the weakness of trying to tell the whole news story situation, or like how the news breaks in a single episode of a show. So in this one, not to spoil too much, but a lot of key information happens by chance and coincidence, and when reporters very, very lucky, it seems in many ways to almost devalue the news-making process. Like the people who actually broke this news and got this information had to work really hard at it. Didn't come in a couple hours. So it's a dangerous thing that the show's doing, but at the same time, I kind of love seeing it explored. So I don't know. Maybe it'll get better. I don't think the second episode did much better to fix that issue with the show, I think. But I still love the characters. So I want to see where this goes.
If you think about what he was doing with West Wing, where he basically had to invent political issues every week, I think it's a smarter thing to say, yes, we have the benefit of hindsight to see how these stories played out, and so we can kind of use that to our advantage and talk about real things. And it's not. This isn't a documentary. It's not showing exactly how this all played out, but it is allowing that reference point that we all have a common association with to inform these people's experience, so we can imagine what a fictional experience might have been like in that situation. And I think that's great. Plus, it's an entertainment show that's probably going to be educating some people about some of these real things, which I find
Except they're going to think this is how these stories kind of broke, in a way, right? He's sort of rewriting history. You look at like The Social Network, and how many people think like the wrong things in that movie actually happened to Mark Zuckerberg.
Right.
So that's a different issue. That's not his responsibility. I agree with that. He's creating entertainment, and if people take it as fact, that's not his problem. It's like saying you can't make a movie, any kind of fictional movie about a real person. Vampire Hunter, freaking people will think, Abraham Lincoln really did some of that stuff. It's
it's a little different. But
it's a little different.
I like The Social Network. I actually argued in favor of what he was doing. It was sort of Shakespearean. Like, you don't have to be true to life. But as you're delving deeper into this, like clearly, you could say it's kind of ballsy to be basing stuff on real news and based on all the hindsight we see. You could also see it's kind of lazy. because then you don't have to create this conflict, and you have all the key pieces of how it was resolved right there in front of you. You could just fit it into these characters and however the hell you want. So I think that's why a lot of people are just crapping on the show. And it's definitely a problem. I hope it figures out a way to balance this better. I actually prefer the West Wing method of making up issues and making up countries and just kind of that was fan fiction, but at least there was a little more effort involved. This is like fan fiction where they're literally just cutting and pasting things that happened in real life, which seems kind of weak.
I think it's his way of saying, hey, the characters really are more important here. I'm telling a story about these people and their interactions with each other against this backdrop that I can lift because the backdrop is secondary to, who loves who and how how they're brushing up against one another. Which I find more interesting too, which is what you said.
Yeah, I want more of a focus on the characters. Dave, I know you already did an episode on the newsroom, so you probably don't want to talk about it much. But this is kind of problematic. That's all. I hope.
Well, So Devindra's referring to a bonus episode that's on the Filmcast feed about the newsroom. Check it out with me and Joanna. But the short version of that is that I really did not like the show, and I think that I disagree with a lot of what you guys are saying. And Devindra, I think you point out one of the big problems, which is that with the benefit of hindsight, it's like,
so easy.
Yeah. It's like, okay, you now looking back, what the story was. So to have your characters be able to pick it out before anyone else is not like, oh wow, you're geniuses. It's just like, dude, you knew what happened, so exactly. What the most important part is. Now that you can write your characters as being that smart. It seems a little bit I think a lot of words come to mind. Lazy, a little bit kind of
that's one episode, the second episode everyone screws up.
Yeah, they screwed up, but there's still you can basically play that situation however you want it, right? Once you have all the facts. So you could either make it a way of your character succeeding or failing. I'm pretty sure they're not going to screw up every day, every episode of the season. You need that one big loss to kind of give them something to fight for. But the bigger problem, right, is his whole thesis. That really reverential opening credits, looking at the history of the newsroom and the terrible music that goes with it. He's trying to make a broader point about journalism and news, whereas the show isn't actually showing that, right? It's kind of cheaply giving the information that's necessary. It's pieced together to the news in a way. I don't think it's actually accurately depicting. So
Devindra, I get what you're saying. You're saying that the show is trying to make trying to make this thesis of how much better things were back then.
Right.
And even that thesis, you're saying it's doing a poor job of conveying it. And I would argue that thesis is crap to begin with. So it's weren't things so much better back then? I mean, some things were better. If you were certain groups of people, things were better. But it's a lot of stuff has happened in journalism. A lot of it has been bad, but there's been some stuff that's good. And Aaron Sorkin, thus far, it doesn't seem like he's particularly interested in the stuff that's good.
Yeah, so I'll be interested to see where this goes. I actually think the pilot had a really good use of a tweet that I mark that because it is actually pretty cool. When Waterston's character is this whole show is happening live. There's no script, and this is the executive producer's first job. Tweet that. That's actually a good idea. But beyond that minimal bit of modern insight.
Sorkin, in fact, as a matter of fact, does not have any respect for things like Twitter.
We can tell. And there was that really infamous Globe interview with the female reporter that you can just read so much into.
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I love the show.
Episode, but I actually lean more on the side of David just because Aaron Sorkin, as it stands, he's already a hugely sanctimonious person.
Yeah.
I agree that adding, you could say, it's the benefit of hindsight, but it also feels it's oh wow, you have 2 years of breathing room to figure out exactly how you felt about these things, stuff that most people are pretty tired of talking about already, and figuring out how they feel about it. And now it's Aaron Sorkin's cracking his knuckles and putting everything in its place.
I'm so much smarter than all of you.
See, I feel like you guys are reviewing Aaron Sorkin through this show, that you're impugning the show based on your feelings of Aaron Sorkin.
Right, but it's hard not to, right?
I feel Aaron Sorkin when I'm watching the show. It does feel like I'm reviewing Aaron Sorkin because he's so prominent in the show.
Yeah, to a certain degree, we shouldn't do that, but at the same time, the show is so Aaron Sorkin. He's not shying away from his formula, his dialogue, his stereotypical, his cookie-cutter characters in ways. You can tell that this is an Aaron Sorkin show, even if you never saw the credits.
Yeah,
So,
definitely,
yeah.
definitely.
I mean, like you can go into a new Tim Burton film and pretend like you've never
Right.
seen a Tim Burton
Right.
film, but that you can't escape that experience. You've watched him do it before.
Right. Well, in any case, Devindra seemed to like it. Adam, you saw the pilot, you said?
Yes.
Yeah, because it's available for free and everything. It's you can download it for free on iTunes, I think. And
Also on like YouTube, you can pretty much find it anywhere for free.
yeah. So
Not legally, it's for free on YouTube. I didn't mean to suggest that.
yeah, no, I get it. I'm picking up what you're putting down, Adam. So
Sure.
anyway, so some people liked it. Jeff loved it.
I love it.
A lot of people on the internet hated it. A lot of journalists hated it, and I think I can
Yeah.
understand why that's the case.
It does make your job feel pretty cheap. Like any mistake you make, I don't know.
Well, it's kind of like
Don't you think that like ER made doctors feel cheap and Law and Order makes lawyers feel cheap? I mean, I think
no,
they're not
that's the
based on
thing.
real
It
cases.
doesn't because those people are seen like busting their ass.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so are the people in newsroom. The people in
Hey.
newsroom are it's passionate people trying to do their job well.
Yeah. Well, when my sister in college roommate gave me like the inside scoop on a breaking story, that sort of thing.
yeah,
That's what worries me about the newsroom. so
yeah,
far.
you know what I mean. It's like okay, well, we let's come back to this at the end of the season and see
Yeah,
if
I
it's
think
gotten
that's-
any better.
that's
I don't even know if I'm going to watch the end of the season, but I kind of want to hate watch this just to see if my worst fears about Aaron Sorkin will be because a lot of people are saying, "Oh, Dave, it's going to get better. Like he's going to figure out like why technology is good and stuff." And I'm like, I kind of want to watch just to prove people wrong. But
Yeah.
we'll see.
Did you see the second episode, Dave?
I did. Yes. Yeah.
I liked the moment in the boardroom at the beginning where she's putting the stuff on the whiteboard. Like those guidelines are not wrongheaded.
Did you like the part where she accidentally sent an email to the entire
that was-
organization?
I agree that was stupid, but it's stupid in a that happens on TV kind of way. It's not a
Yeah. Well,
know.
there's also a bunch of other issues that we haven't even brought up. Like,
Yeah,
a lot of people have problems with the depiction of women on the show, which I'm not even going to open that can of worms today on this podcast. But
But yeah, you read that interview and you can tell that Aaron Sorkin has a weird view of women. At
yeah,
least.
let's put it
I
that
don't
way.
know.
I mean, you just look at the opening title sequence and how many women are in it. You know,
Well,
That'll
I
give
mean,
you-
it's all old anchors, and there weren't many old.
Exactly.
Like, so
I
that's-
don't
Exactly.
think Aaron Sorkin designed and composed the opening sequence of the
Oh,
show.
I'm sure he gave his stamp of approval.
Yeah, Jeff, come on, let's not
So-
be ridiculous. Okay, Aaron Sorkin clearly gave direction and wanted it to be that way. So, whether or not he designed it is a
Aaron
different.
Sorkin walked in the room and said, "Remove all the women from this. I hereby state
Look,
there should
Jeff,
be no Diane Sawyers."
I'm not gonna have a fight with you about this right now, but I mean, it comes from the olden days of TV, and coincidentally, there were not
When
very
men
many
were
women.
men.
Yeah.
There's that line in the pilot too, like when men stood for something or something. Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
that was Jeff Daniels at the beginning, his opening
Yes.
pirate. Anyway, okay, guys, this is gonna get contentious. Let's move
Okay.
on. Devindra Hardawar, what else are you watching?
Well, something we can all agree on: the new Louis season is pretty fantastic, and the last episode with Melissa Leo, just about perfect. Just about the craziest thing I've seen on television in a long time, and just like this little capsule of perfection. So I'm loving it, and I love how assured and just more composed the series seems this time around.
Let me give some advice for you guys. Do not watch Louis with someone on a first or second date.
Unless you want that
I'm not-
date to be amazing.
I'm not gonna say
While sitting in a car.
I'm not gonna say I did that, but I will say that you should not do it. So, and we'll just leave it at that.
yeah.
What I love about this show is its ability to convey real life situations that are super painful and awkward, and that other shows do not dare to trod on this type of territory. You know, so I
But
really
it's also it also lives in that place between something that is absolutely truthful and could absolutely happen and this abstraction of a million moments condensed into one that isn't a real moment but feels reminiscent of what should be real.
right.
If that makes any sense. Like in
Right.
in the first episode, that part where his girlfriend is standing there and saying to him, "All you need to do, we can be together for 2 more years and it will be awkward and you'll be unhappy, or you can be a man right now and say you want to break up with me. If all you have to do is avoid this one moment of awkwardness, which is like Yes, it's so true that happens, but no one ever comes out and says it like that. You know, that never
Right.
actually happens, but it's indicative of the kind of thing that happens.
Right.
Yeah.
In
I
any
think his
case,
commentary and comedy is getting just sharper. So good to see.
yeah, he's keeping it up. And John Landgraf, the president of FX, did a very fascinating interview recently with KCRW's The Business about the kind of deal that he had with Louis. It's like become famous that he
Louis
gave.
deal.
I'm sorry, what?
They call it the Louis deal.
The
Everybody
Louis
wants the
deal.
Louis.
Right, where he basically gives Louis complete control over every aspect of the show, which generally does not happen on television. But because the show costs so little money, and Louis doesn't make that much money off of it, he's able to do it. Like they went back and forth, where Louis is like, okay, I want you to give me like $500,000, and John Landgraf's like, look, I can't do that without giving you notes. And Louis didn't want any notes. So then John Landgraf was like, okay, I can give you $225,000. If I lose that, that's like a rounding error. Like that's like so little money. That's so little money that even if no one watched your show, I would barely lose anything if I gave it to you. And so that's what they ended up doing, is he gives him like the minimum amount of money, and Louis just makes a show. And the first time the executives at FX the first time people see it is when he's showing them the final episode. So
Awesome.
Yeah,
And I don't
very
know how he gets such great performances out of those little girls.
yeah,
It's
they're very good.
Amazing.
Very good.
Yeah.
It's. I mean, if you're not watching it, the first 2 seasons of Louis are available on DVD, Blu-ray, and Netflix Watch Instantly. So check them out. And season 3 is currently airing on FX on Thursday nights.
Yeah.
So
you have no excuse.
yeah, no excuse.
Let me mention one more thing real quickly, Dave. To Rome with Love. I saw the new Woody Allen. It's cute. It's really, really cute, but it's nowhere near as good or interesting or insightful as Midnight in Paris was. So that's my quick review. It has a great cast. Have you guys seen it yet?
No, I'm anxious to. I love Woody Allen.
It's really cute. It'll probably make a fun little date movie, but there are a couple ideas that he's kind of throwing around, like a look at like what fake celebrities or celebrities that have never accomplished anything in their life. Just lots of different ideas he's trying to explore in this movie, none of which seem too specific to Rome. So that's the thing. Like, he has this great setting and a lot of great actors, but the things don't quite gel. So it's worth a view, but I definitely didn't like it as much as Midnight in Paris. Which,
How did you see it? Is it out?
it's out. It's I saw it at at the Brooklyn Academy of Music, which is my favorite theater in New York.
All
right. So check it out. To Rome with Love. But I think it sounds like Midnight in Paris is a better film.
Yeah, if you're looking for a cute movie to go like on a date right now, it's Moonrise Kingdom is actually a legitimately great film. This is a cute little thing that you'll watch. Probably don't even need to see in theaters.
Adam, quickly, why did you laugh at Devindra's suggestion?
Oh, I thought it was funny that To Rome with Love was described as cute several times, and it's like, well, if you want a cute movie, go see Moonrise Kingdom.
Instagram. Yeah.
So yeah. So Moonrise Kingdom is superior to Rome with Love. You're saying?
Well, it's trying to do more, and I think it's just more cohesive in its vision. Even though it is about 2 cute kids falling in love.
All right. Well, that's what we've been watching this week. We're about to get into our review of The Amazing Spider-Man. Before we do that, we want to give a big shout out to our donors. Thanks to Bruno from Tooting, London, which seems like a very British name for a town. James from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, and Martin Kelly, whose newest film, Step Off, is available on video on demand. Thank you guys for donating to the /Filmcast. You can always do this by going to /film.com and using click on the /Filmcast tab at the top of the page. You'll find links to donate to us. Really appreciate your support, and it helps us to keep doing what we're doing here at the /Filmcast. Let's move on to our review of The Amazing Spider-Man.
Oh, my kid is trapped!
This life is not an easy one. I've made enemies. Put those I love in danger. But when your past is a mystery, how do you ever stop looking for the truth?
We found my weakness. It's small knives. Oh, it's so simple.
Your father was a very secretive man.
Do you think what happened to you was an accident? If you want the truth, come and get it.
Do you have any idea what you really are?
That was from the trailer for The Amazing Spider-Man, the newest film by director Mark Webb, starring Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone. It was out in theaters this past Tuesday and made a lot of money, a decent sum. I think it's going to end up taking, somewhere close to $140 million over the course of, over its 6-day total. Something around that. Some ridiculous sum that, is outrageous by any
That proves
standard.
Sony will learn nothing from rebooting it so
precisely.
quickly, yeah.
But I mean, hey, Mark Webb, he started as an indie filmmaker, now he's going to be big time. We can always support that, even if we don't like the film. And let's get right to that right now. Jeff Kanata,
Yes.
What did you think of The Amazing Spider-Man?
Well, I was one of those people that was kind of excited about it being rebooted so quickly. I was never a huge fan of the previous Spider-Man. I never really liked Tobey Maguire in the role, and always felt that those movies were all really problematic, even when they were good, they weren't great, and there was a lot of stuff that wasn't good about them. For my money, I'm a huge Marvel fan, huge Spider-Man fan, so I was excited, and I felt like Andrew Garfield was a great choice. Unfortunately, this movie is also extremely problematic, and I came out quite disappointed with it. I will say my favorite part is Andrew Garfield. I think he's fantastic in the part. I think he throws himself into it and does a great job with both Peter Parker and Spider-Man. I love the humor of the character in costume. I liked a lot of the physicality of Spider-Man this time around, as opposed to the previous versions. It's a shame that we need to do another origin story, especially when, yes, it borrows a lot from the Bendis Ultimate version in the sense of the cohesion of the universe and putting Oscorp at the center of everything, and Peter's parents are more involved. But it's really not different enough, I think, or a fresh enough delivery of familiar material to justify the fact that every child on the planet knows Spider-Man's origin, so we don't need to see it again. And then this sort of action-adventure
I don't know about
stuff.
every child on the planet, but yes, I take your point that it is very well known.
Yeah, I use hyperbole, yes. But
Really? Sorry, continue.
and then the sort of action-adventure stuff that is the new elements, the new villain, the Lizard, isn't particularly interesting. I didn't like much of the third act. I think it really falls apart in the third act. We'll talk about more when we get to the spoiler section, specific points that I didn't care for. But it's a shame because I think they had assembled a lot of really great pieces, and none of it really comes together to make anything special. And I'm particularly baffled by how similar it feels tonally to what Sam Raimi did, because I felt like at the very least we were going to get a very tonally different Spider-Man, and whereas we do have some wonderful Peter Gwen moments and some lovely high school crush kind of indie film feeling scenes, for the most part the movie still feels wacky. It still feels comic booky. It still feels that Sam Raimi take on Spider-Man, and I think it's a real misstep for a director that could have brought such a different angle on this character. So I was pretty disappointed with the movie.
Devindra Hardwar, your thoughts on The Amazing Spider-Man?
Yeah, my thoughts are pretty complicated on this film because, Jeff, when you're saying you didn't like the Sam Raimi films, I can understand that. But Spider-Man 2, guy, that is, at least to me, one of the best superhero films ever made. It is every scene in that movie just it serves a purpose, right? There's a whole point to what he's trying to say. There are several themes going on in that film, and the action is fantastic, and it's like Raimi at the top of his game. So I love that movie. Going into it, I didn't really have much that I was expecting from The Amazing Spider-Man. But yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. It's at least it's a fun movie to watch. It's a decent superhero origin tale. It does feel a bit different from the first Raimi Spider-Man. And I actually think the tone is very different. It's more grounded in reality. There is more of a focus now on relationships, which Mark Webb is clearly good at after 500 Days of Summer. So you have those almost mumblecore scenes between Peter Parker and what's her face, Emma Stone's Gwen Stacy. It feels a little more realistic. It feels like just two kids trying to get to know each other. I don't know if it's totally successful, but that's definitely a very different vibe from the Sam Raimi one, which is more the nerd sees the girl who he's always loved and like she's with the jock. That's a story we've seen a lot. This one is a little more, I don't know, just a little different and a little more interesting in ways. I also like the fact that Gwen Stacy is there's at least something going on there. Like, she's fun to watch and she's an interesting character too. Like, she doesn't need to be saved. She's smart enough to actually get herself out of certain situations too, which I kind of enjoyed. So, and what else? I think the Uncle Ben relationship in this movie was actually pretty well done. Not just because it's Martin Sheen, because he's always fantastic, but you can sense that there's almost a greater bond between him and Peter Parker than even in the Sam Raimi Spider-Man. I think it's just a great interpretation of that relationship. I don't know. It's and Aunt May too. Well done stuff there. So it does have problems. Like I'm sure you guys are going to bring up how like there's not much of a plot going on here, and the last act kind of falls apart. The villain, not that interesting, but it didn't end up as bad as I thought, so I still liked it overall. And
it didn't end up as bad as I thought. That's the pull quote.
Yeah. Well, Dave, you also hated this movie, so that's the thing. Like, it's easy to go like to the extremes and just say, "Oh, this is terrible," and there's nothing of value here. It's not a bad movie. It's probably a movie that came out too soon. Because this series didn't need to get remade so quickly, and if you can get over the fact that it's a blatant cash grab, then it's a decently enjoyable superhero movie. It's not anything fantastic, but it's not terrible either.
Quig Spot, your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't outright hate it like you're about to explain why, but I would agree with Devindra and Jeff. There were aspects of it that I actually thought were considerably like improved on. Things I actually appreciated. I agree that Garfield, I thought, made actually a much better Spider-Man than Tobey Maguire. And Tobey Maguire, I thought, was fine in the role. But this, I feel like, not only like in terms of like the personality, but he just like looks the part more when he's actually in the suit. It feels like a comic book. It feels like he looks in the comic book. There's this great sort of stringy physique that he has that I think just looks really nice when you're watching him swinging through the streets, which obviously it's not entirely him, but he looks good in the suit. All the web slinging stuff I thought looked really cool. There was aspects of the story that I thought they made it feel a bit more grounded. It felt less comic booky, but then they don't really pay it off in the way, like I thought, like the way they sort of reinvented the sort of a pivotal moment with Uncle Ben fell completely flat. And honestly, like that's probably one of my major issues with the movie, because it made me think that like Uncle Ben is basically just like an idiot. Because I feel like what he does in that scene just makes no sense. There's some other stuff too, just like the entire handling of the Kirk Connors relationship I thought was really disappointing, especially since that was what I was really looking forward to from Raimi's Spider-Man 4, because they had already set up that character, and I really wanted to see that relationship develop. And it's such a half-baked relationship, and I think that this is one of those elements that really suffered from whatever they're doing with either reshoots or just like cutting stuff out while editing. So yeah, there's just aspects that like, and specifically like it's kind of what the movie is building up to and then pays off on as like its major like third act climax revolves entirely around the Lizard relationship, and that is just so deeply unsatisfying that you walk away from the film feeling like it didn't really accomplish that much, even though that first half hour is really good. I actually think it handles a lot of the origin stuff better than Raimi did. It's just unfortunate that a lot of the other stuff, like it introduces these basic story elements and what's Peter Parker's connection like with his parents and Kirk Connors and a lot of that stuff. Like I can imagine myself hating if I'd actually known what the reveal was, which they don't. They like basically set it up for a franchise, like, oh, we're going to explore this mystery further in future entries. And I can imagine if they actually did reveal that in this one, I could hate it because it kind of feels like it devalues the basic premise of Spider-Man, which is just like this normal geeky kid suddenly being granted this amazing ability. And here it makes it feel more like it's something that was always sort of destined to happen to him because of his connection through his parents. I feel like that kind of.
Let's pause here for a moment. We'll get into that in a little bit. But what Adam is referring to is that the marketing of this film had always teased that, or until very recently had teased that this was going to be the untold story of Spider-Man. And there is a line in the trailers where you, like in one of the first trailers where they make reference to like, you think it was here it is. The line is like, do you think what happened to you, Peter, was an accident? Do you have any idea what you really are? That line was in the trailer, not in the final movie. We'll talk about this more during spoilers, but essentially there's evidence that, you know, that in the movie there was going to be this thing about genetic destiny that never made it into the final cut.
Not really didn't make it into the final cut because to some degree that story is still there, or at least the pieces of it are.
I mean,
it feels sort of like a lost situation where they have like the mystery elements being set up immediately as the movie starts.
I would dispute that they are there to any meaningful degree that a person would recognize. Like an average moviegoer that doesn't read /film would recognize, but you know, whatever. Anyway, Adam, do you have anything else to say or for now, or are you
Go ahead.
good? Okay. Well, I watched this show called The Daily Show with Jon Stewart. You may have heard of it, and on the show. On the show, Jon Stewart sometimes interviews conservatives. Jon Stewart himself is pretty liberal. The show slants pretty liberal. But sometimes he had Marco Rubio on the show recently. He has conservatives on the show. I think he's generally fair to them, but you know, the audience is on Jon's side, so there is some sort of imbalance there. But typically how these interviews end, after a pretty reasonable conversation, is Jon Stewart will throw up his hands and say something along the lines of, you know, it's interesting, I just think we have an empirically different set of facts about the world. You know, like we look at the world, like our agreement about the world that we live in and the facts that we like believe to be true are just drastically different. That's how I felt after seeing this movie, in the sense that you have people on the internet and you guys saying that this movie is good, or that there are even some elements of it that are good. No.
Because you can imagine that.
I'm being hyperbolic. I'm being hyperbolic. There are like people who are like crying at the end of this movie, standing up and applauding. Tons of critics saying that this is a brilliant reinvention. And I thought this movie was overall pretty terrible. And it's just baffling. I almost feel like I am stepping into like this world from a different universe. Like I saw a different movie than everyone else because my opinion is so far to the opposite of what everyone else thinks. Obviously, you guys have actually done a really good job today of pointing out a lot of my issues with this film, namely that you spend all this time on an origin story, and we already all know the origin story. Doesn't add anything that new to the origin story that we already had, unless you were going to make reference to this untold story thing, which the movie maybe broaches but doesn't even get into to any extent that's meaningful. And the sort of relationship between Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone, everyone's like, oh, it's like, yeah, they have so much chemistry together. I mean, those scenes did not work for me whatsoever. And I think they are both charming as individuals and as actors, but it felt to me like Mark Webb just threw them in front of the camera and was like, okay, go, with like no script whatsoever. And they were just kind of fumbling around. And yeah, okay, you may find something charming and endearing about that, but in the context of like a major movie, you know, where this relationship is supposed to develop and mean something to me, it did not work, it did not click. I just don't understand how people thought that this was a good romance. That was
I think like you may have to reconsider what you're expecting from a movie like this, right? It's like we're used to the really mapped out movie romances where, oh yeah, the nerd has always wanted this girl, he's never been around, like he's never been able to like gather the courage to ask her out or anything. Remember how the first Sam Raimi begins? It is literally like this story begins, it's about a girl or something. And this one, like, I don't know, it felt more like how I've seen relationships build together in real life almost. Just like people who are sort of interested in each other, they get to know each other a little better. And then, yeah, the movie makes some huge plot leaps to kind of get them together. but it in terms of, I don't know, the connective stuff that brings them together, I believed it.
On a scene by scene basis. So, a couple things to respond to what you just said. First of all, yeah, you're right in the sense that we've seen this story a ton of times before, and so I can respect that you're trying to deviate from it. You know, like we've seen that template, and so it's like, okay, I understand you don't want to use that again. I did not find any aspect of this relationship convincing at all. I mean, on an individual scene basis, it's like, okay, if you watch one scene of this movie with them interacting, I can find that believable. But in the entire film, how Emma Stone's character reacts to certain things, and specifically very major plot developments that happen later on in the film, did not strike me as anything that is remotely close to what an actual human would react. And
which might play better if the movie wasn't trying to take this more like grounded angle. It is trying to be a bit more realistic. And
right. And it did not. I can't just. I mean, that alone is so unconvincing that it's like it is almost enough to kind of kill the movie. But there's other things that are really problematic as well, like the Kirk Connors character. Like, what is that dude's motivation? You know, he has certain motivations that you can believe, but none of them are really developed very well. And Jeff,
David, he had one arm. I mean. What else do you need?
Good point, Adam. Yeah, you're right. I don't need anything else in terms of characterization other than that he had one arm. I mean, the thing is, Adam, there is a lot that could derive. There's a lot of compelling drama that could derive from the fact that he has one arm, but we never get to see any of it on screen. Not to mention the character.
No, you clearly get to hear him talking about the fact that he doesn't like that he has one arm.
That's true. That is true, Adam. It's but it's not. Also, was it just me, or was the lizard character designed horribly? Like, did he just look comically bad? Was I the only one that thought that?
I didn't care for it either.
I don't know. I thought like it's definitely going for like a scarier sort of villain than we've seen in the other Spider-Man films, but I don't know. I thought the effects were good, and its interactions with like in some of the set pieces. I actually liked some of the set pieces because it's not like a new type of action, but clearly they imagined like how these two sorts of characters, one based on a spider, one based on a lizard, would kind of interact in I like the school scene. There's stuff where they're going along the walls and over the ceiling.
Yeah, that was kind of interesting.
Pretty well.
It reminded me. It reminded me a little of Batman Returns.
Right.
When it felt like Tim Burton got really enamored with this metaphor of the penguin and penguins, and let's like, oh, he's the animal. Yeah, I can use that as a metaphor for the entire movie. It felt like the same thing happened with the lizard, and like, yeah, we get it. He's a lizard, and there's like 1,000 lizards everywhere, and there's always lizards around. And we get it. He's lizard-like.
He's really emphasizing the lizard motif in this film.
And I don't understand. Like, I've seen a lizard in my life like 4 times, and never more than one at a time. Right? You know, the fact that there's like lizards streaming everywhere in New York City doesn't make any goddamn sense to me.
All right. So I remember when we were. Blessed to have the director Vincenzo Natali on this podcast, and he made a really good point. He made this point where like he recalled this contest where people had to direct. He was like in film school, or he was teaching film school or something, and people had to direct like a 3 to 5 minute short film or something like that, where they were given a set of instructions and they had to sort of make this movie come to life. And his point. When he was reviewing, I think it was Let Me In with us, was he said how when you see what people produce, you realize how important the director is to dictating how a movie looks and how it happens. But you also realize how many different ways there are to direct something. And I kind of sense that vibe in this film, where a lot of the stuff in this film very reminiscent of the Raimi films, and it not only reminiscent, it felt like a pretty watered down, lamer version of the Raimi films. And, people reacted with outrage on Twitter when I kind of slammed this film on Twitter, and they're saying how, oh yeah, the Raimi film, like that film does not hold up well. And, but it's like, dude, it may not hold up well in like things like special effects, but Raimi had a certain, like, regardless of whether you liked it or not, Raimi had a specific type of tone and vision that he was going for, and that did not come across in this movie. It did not come across in a coherent way.
Raimi's films were so assured.
Yes,
like,
exactly.
They were so confident in what they were, and yes, they are campy and cheesy.
Yeah, they're
and
goofy.
Silly,
they're goofy, but he knew.
They're very successfully so.
Right.
Well, at
And
least the first
I agree with you,
two
David.
are
This movie.
shared.
Yeah. Wait, Adam,
Well,
finish what you're saying.
yeah, okay, we could get into issues
Yeah.
with the third one, but that was like actually kind of feels similar to what's going on here, where it's like there's elements where that there's elements that totally work. It feels like there's very assured elements in the Amazing Spider-Man, and they're totally at odds with these other things that feel more like shoehorned in by the studio, where they're like, "Oh, we're doing the Lizard now," and once he actually starts battling the Lizard, I mean, there's some cool action scenes, but it just feels so at odds with everything that's come before it. It's like, oh, I thought we were going to get a more grounded Spider-Man, but once again, we've devolved into, oh, I'm just punching this giant fucking prehistoric monster thing that's like in the sewers and rampaging the streets.
But there's a scene in this movie, like there's a scene in the first movie where like New Yorkers come together to help Spider-Man,
And they do it again.
and they did the same
It's
thing
ridiculous.
again.
and it makes even less sense here.
Yeah, it's even cheesier than it was when they did it before.
Yeah, and
One of the major themes of Spider-Man throughout for the last 50 years or whatever is Spider-Man's perception by the public
Right.
as delivered through the media,
which is totally
And we get
absent in this film.
completely absent. And you have I feel like my major thesis walking out of this movie is missed opportunities.
Yeah.
There are so many missed opportunities in this movie. I mean, we should probably get to spoilers at some point so we
Yeah.
can talk about specific ones, but the fact that you have him set up a wonderful moment where he potentially could have photos of something, and you could see that turning into something, and instead all that happens is the camera gets squished, right? And we use that as a ridiculous plot point.
Yeah. No, it was a plot point straight out of that Simpsons episode that happened at the well, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yes. And so the fact that all these the average American rises up and does something that that they would know he would need that, B, that they could coordinate that way, and it comes off as so preposterous and stupid, and I don't understand why we have that element in the movie when you don't build up to it in any
Right.
way at all. You don't have any of that wonderful, like, who is Spider-Man? Do we like him? Do we not like him? Stuff. It's
No, I agree with you completely. And I mean, even back in the Raimi film, it was a little bit cheesy, but we could forget, like, there was a certain.
It was a lot cheesy.
But that movie came out in the wake of 9/11. You know what I mean? And there was this kind of
more like, you can understand why there was that.
right. You can,
shout out to New York.
and it was kind of his way of kind of reaffirming our collective unity in the wake of like a really traumatic event that occurred in New York. I mean, guys, the trailer for Spider-Man 1 by Raimi featured the two towers, and then when the movie came out, the Twin Towers no longer existed. Like, that's how in the wake of it was.
And that whole thing had to be like blacklisted or
they had to like change it all. It was very complicated, and so he put that bit in, and it's like, wow, even though I recognize like it was cheesy, it was kind of like, okay, I get it. He's kind of doing something. I respected that he did it.
And then they do it again in Spider-Man 2, and you're like, oh, we're doing this again.
And then they did it again here, and you're like, wait, this makes no sense.
Yeah.
So
it's like, I understand, like, Spider-Man's supposed to be like New York's superhero, right? New York's generally, it's not too surprising. Let me finish. But like, that's what they're getting at. This is a really shitty way of kind of interpreting that. It's like, oh, how do we bring New York together around Spider-Man? Cranes. And it seemed like either there was like a checklist of things they had to do for this film, or I don't know what was going on. It feels like this scene in particular feels like there are a lot of cooks in the kitchen for this.
It felt like Mark Webb was imitating other films and other Spider-Man films and not doing a very good job of it.
It reminds me of Superman Returns in a way, like how much that film resembles the first Superman. So
right. Well, to sum up, I mean, my main issues with the film are unconvincing romance, pedestrian action, a villain whose motivations you're not really clear on whatsoever.
You didn't say anything about the action though, Dave.
Oh yeah.
So you're saying pedestrian action based on what?
The action was, it was okay. It wasn't like there was anything there that I was like, wow, dude, you got to go see the movie for this scene. Really,
I actually thought that was one of the things that, for the most part, I was pretty impressed by. Like, okay. I thought there was a lot of CGI, but there's also a lot of physical stuff that you actually felt like the physicality of this guy swinging around that I really dug. And you're talking about that crane scene. I mean, the scene itself is absurd, but the way visually how it's realized with him swinging, I actually thought was pretty effective.
I will say
some of the action stuff, and it feels more brutal than Raimi's films did too. Like they can show more blood here. It's more gruesome in many ways. Like the Lizard and Spider-Man fights just feel they feel kind of out of place in how intense they are sometimes, but it gets there. Like it gets to a point that we never really got with the Green Goblin stuff in the first Spider-Man.
I will say that there are some scenes in this movie that I enjoyed in isolation. For instance, there are some scenes when Peter. I'm not going to give away what they are, but there are scenes when Peter Parker is kind of realizing what's happening. All these changes are happening to his body, and it's having these unforeseen consequences on like how he interacts with objects and people around him. That I thought was very clever and very well done. Whether or not it worked in the context of the movie, I dispute that it does. It feels really weird and awkward in terms of the editing to me, but those scenes were clever in a way that Raimi's film just did not touch upon. But one of the biggest issues that you guys have already brought up is kind of the bad guy and and sort of Peter Parker's arc too. Like what is the emotional journey of Peter Parker in this film? He at the beginning of the film, there's this great bit where you kind of see the endless series of humiliations that he has to endure as a high school student, but then he already like stands up to the bully right at the beginning of the film. He like stands up to the bully, so it's like, okay, like then he was already kind of a good guy to begin with. Like it's
a different Spider-Man is the thing. We can't expect him to do exactly the same thing,
and
like,
yet he does kind of. But at the same time, yeah, okay, it's different, but it's not different enough to be meaningful.
It depends.
It's also not to some degree. It's like, if you completely go away from what makes the character unique and special and interesting, it's like Peter Parker, like the fact that it's like, oh, he's kind of a geek, but he's like a very attractive geek who has no problem standing up to bullies, and he's like, oh yeah, he's the outcast and the loner. It's like he's the coolest geek you've ever seen depicted on film, and oh yeah, he also has like this intimate connection to like what actually ends up making him Spider-Man. They really strip a lot of just like his everyman quality that Peter Parker is supposed to have.
Right.
Well, he's going to a science high school, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so it's like he's in a whole school of geeks. So even Flash Thompson is a geek. You know?
Devindra, I'm sorry. What were you going to say?
That. But no, I was going to say it's interesting to see different takes on the character. I definitely agree. Like maybe Andrew Garfield is a little too pretty for this role. Like he's definitely a very cool Peter Parker.
I don't agree with that.
So I don't know. He's to me like it's almost reaches a point where we've also seen Andrew Garfield in many other roles where he's kind of the dreamboat. So that's one thing that kind of kept me away from it. But I liked how it explored different ideas. Like he's a more fully formed person than Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker was, and that means we have different issues to deal with. But the big problem is the movie doesn't really explore those other issues in great ways. Like all the concepts of identity and whatever that opening scene meant. The movie kind of just drops or hopes that it'll get back to in the sequel. But I don't know, like Dave, I understand your criticisms, but I also feel like you're just not accepting anything that's actually good about the film. Like you're just you're pushing him to the side.
That's not true. I think we just disagree. Like you might think something was good that I did not think was good. I
think fundamentally the way the action works in this film is actually better than what we've seen in a lot of superhero films. Right? It's not up to what Raimi does very well. Like his great framing, his great use of editing, and we see in Spider-Man 2 especially we saw that a lot. But here it's like this is Mark Webb's his first action movie from what I'm seeing.
Yeah, I will say it is like pretty impressive. There are some impressive beats given that this is a director that's never done a really hugely scoped action film before.
I like the beats of the action. I like the scale of it too because this movie gets up to climbing a huge skyscraper in Columbus Circle, and there are aspects of that I kind of thought was nice. But also like the relationships. This movie does get the relationships pretty well. And I didn't hear you say anything about that.
Yeah, well, that's just because I disagree. I disagree violently with you that.
So what about Uncle Ben?
I mean, here, you know what, guys? I think we're about ready to move into spoilers at this point.
Yeah,
so, does anyone have any other thoughts? Because if not, let's just.
I just want to comment on the action, saying I think the action looks really nice, but the big issue with it is that it's not motivated nearly as well as the action, even in Spider-Man 3.
Right.
The action is better motivated than it is here.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. But let's move on and talk about what those motivations are, starting right now.
Now you're looking for the secret.
Didn't see this coming.
No,
But you won't find it because, of course,
you're not going to see this coming.
you're not really looking.
I have been puzzling over how it works.
You don't really want to work it out.
Who's in the box?
I have been dying to tell you.
I want to tell you
You want to be fooled.
All right, Devindra, you asked me about Uncle Ben and that whole relationship, and I mean, I've seen differing viewpoints on that Uncle Ben scene and the scene where he gets killed, right? How effective that is. Some people said, wow, that felt really lame and kind of fell flat. And some people are like, yeah, it really worked. I think we actually have that diversity here on the podcast, right? I did not think it worked for me particularly. And the whole, like, with great power comes great responsibility. Was it
Never
just
spoken.
Me?
Never spoken in the movie.
Never spoken. Was it just me,
How
or
about
was
you
it?
show it instead of, I don't know, speaking
Was
it?
it was a lamer version of that speech?
Well,
we
here's the
have
thing, though.
we have this moment where he's going to listen to this long lost voicemail where I'm like, okay, here it comes. Here comes the line. But no, what the hell was the point of listening to the voicemail? It added nothing. It didn't sound sincere. It sounded like a speech that Martin Sheen is giving.
Yeah,
it sounded like he wrote it out first.
It was really bad.
That's the perfect opportunity to drop the money line. Come on.
So yeah, I mean, Devindra, I think Martin Sheen does a good job, and does a better job than whoever played Uncle Ben in the Raimi films. But I did not find that relationship to be particularly more meaningful than the one in the Raimi films, and ditto the Aunt May relationship. Aunt May is given nothing to say or do in this film of any consequence. So
they lay the groundwork for these strong relationships,
Right.
and just don't see them through.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: like, you guys are saying, okay, well, the Uncle Ben scenes, you could debate, or his death, you could debate if that works, and his voice message. Like, I'm not going to excuse that. That was not. It's kind of terrible in many ways, but it's also like what they were setting up was the whole theme of identity that the movie didn't really explore as well as it could. And it's like, okay, in the sequel, we're going to figure out the unexplored things in his life. So that it's setting up the sequel. It's not like setting up the whole responsibility thing. But let's think. But listen, how many times are you guys going to just sit there and say that's stupid? Like, let me just say what's happening before. Like, before the death scene, there's actually a pretty great argument between Peter Parker and Uncle Ben that I think is indicative of like this relationship and the changes Peter's going through and the frustration Ben has, like, trying to deal with this kid who he clearly loves, but he doesn't know how to communicate with him. Like, there's good stuff there. If you just ignore it and say that's stupid.
No. I'm saying that particular point of creating films that are like explaining away problems by saying, oh, it's just for the sequel. Like, you can't. We've gotten to the point now where these movies aren't movies. They're just setups for another movie. And
but I'm not explaining it away. I'm also saying, like, if we can just say, oh, it's stupid. Like, this whole thing is stupid.
No. Jeff is commenting on your point of saying that, like, Jeff is saying what is stupid is excusing problems in this film because you're counting on it to be improved in the sequel. That concept is dumb, and I agree with him.
That's not what I'm doing, though.
Well,
okay,
you just.
So I have some other. Moving on, I have some other major points that I want to bring in, and I will reiterate once again. There's a lot that I do like, and I do like the Uncle Ben relationship.
Yeah, that was good.
I do love Martin Sheen's performance. It's wonderful to watch.
Yeah,
and it's the first time I've ever really thought to myself, yeah, why are Aunt May and Uncle Ben always so ancient in all the depictions of them? They should be just like his parents' age, basically. Anyway, so. First of all, what the hell is the freaking lizard's plan? And why does he have to have a giant overarching plan? And why do we have to have the army of the lizard men that he creates and then we never return to ever again? And why do we have to have it being an entire citywide scale problem? Why can't it just be Spider-Man versus the lizard? He's got some stakes that are not an entire city in peril. There's not a magic gas that is clunkily set up by going, hey, look at that over there in the corner. See that thing? Well, if that ever fell into the wrong hands, boy, that'd be bad. Anywhu, back to the tour.
Well, you know what Chekhov said about Ganali devices in the corner, Jeff. A Ganali device in the corner in the first act is probably going to be fired in the third act, I think is the point.
Yeah. The entire relationship with Gwen Stacy's dad is stupid. He behaves in a way that doesn't make any damn sense ever. Like, no cop behaves that way. Like, I'm going to go by myself up and shoot at the giant lizard thing. Why do we have a sequence where Peter removes his mask and shows himself to Gwen Stacy's dad when literally 20 minutes before that, we saw him dodge bullets shot point blank range at him. So he's in no physical danger from a man holding a gun on him.
All right, let's calm down for a second, Jeff.
He was shot, guys. Like I'm not trying to
He was
nitpick
shot
here.
because he ran away. Because he didn't stand there like he did with the robber who was shooting at him and just use his spider sense to dodge the bullets.
Let's talk. Wait, Jeff. Let's talk about one of the biggest points you brought up, which I think a lot of people have brought up, which is what is going on with the lizard. Incidentally, this is the second film that's come out in the last 8 weeks in which the entire city of New York has been endangered by some device at the top of a really large building. But
I think they didn't plan that very well. Yeah.
But what is the question? Yeah, what is the issue with Lizard? And like, did the lizard juice turn him evil? Was he already evil, and the lizard stuff just amplified it?
Clearly it didn't do anything to the soldiers. It just sort of turned them green, and then they hung out for a little while, and then they got turned back.
Yeah, clearly.
It felt like they were like already so accustomed to using that plot like motivation for the villain that they're like, oh, we don't even need to justify it.
Yeah, we don't even need to explain this.
Because like, oh, it's like an X-Men Magneto had a very, very similar plan, and the Incredibles Syndrome had a very similar plan. It's like, oh, it's an established, yeah, like.
Yeah,
his master plan is to make everyone like me.
And the fact that Gwen hey Gwen, do you know how to make antidotes? Oh sure, yeah, no problem. Cool. Could you go plug antidote into the computer and make antidote for us? Because antidote is needed right now. Just plug that right in. The lizard antidote, number 7.
I'm sorry. That's hilarious, Jeff. But yes, I agree with what you're saying.
The third act of this movie like made me hate the stuff that I was liking up until that point. It is so many missed opportunities. Okay, here's another one. You feed guys like me, fanboys who were clamoring in the first Spider-Man movies for mechanical web shooters. You give that to us, you justify it in a really cool way, you make it look awesome, it's really cool. But you miss out on the whole point of wanting mechanical web shooters, which is that in moments of great peril, sometimes they don't work, or he's out of web juice, or, you give yourself a place to go with Spider-Man. And you have the perfect opportunity to make that happen, which is he's at school and the lizard attacks the school. So, of course, he's not going to be without his web shooters, right? Oh, except that he's wearing them for some reason at school. This doesn't make any goddamn sense. You have a moment where he has to go into the other room and change into the Spider-Man costume. Why not have him not have the web shooters on until then? So he has to figure out how to deal with that situation without webbing up until that moment. Except, no, he's just fucking wearing them at school for some reason.
Well, I think you're being a little bit nitpicky at this point, Jeff. I mean, I think there is a scene at the end of...
a little bit nitpicky is like the subhead for this whole review, right?
There is a scene...
We're nitpicking everything here.
I don't agree with that, Devindra, but...
But it's like, clearly you feel the way you feel about the movie. And at this point, like, I almost feel like I'm working really hard to just kind of say, hey, actually, there's other good stuff here. So,
well, Jeff,
I feel like we're having a lot of fun just saying how terrible of the movie
Devindra, I'm about to do your job for you, which is to say...
It's not terrible. It's missed opportunities. You have opportunity.
Right. But the web thing, too, like, that's a different perspective on how they should do this. Like, first of all, if I developed freaking cool web shooters, I'm going to be wearing them all the fucking time, guys. What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
Tap your hand in the wrong way, fucking web shoots out everywhere in class.
Like, if you want to have a nerd argument, I will argue in favor of wearing them all the freaking time.
Okay, Jeff, hold on, guys. Okay, so Jeff, to be fair, there is a scene at the end of the movie where his web shooters are disabled.
And nothing happens. Nothing.
No. Yeah, okay. He doesn't have to really deal with it, but I did see that it happened.
Right. It happened. It put him in a situation of peril, which is it sounded like we wanted.
Yeah. He had to deal with that. Okay, really. but then what is going on with Kirk? Like at the end, Kirk Connors saves Spider-Man. Like what is it? Just that the lizard?
He saves Spider-Man, who is the one person in the fucking universe who doesn't need to be grabbed when he's sliding down the face of a building. He's the one in the world who can stick to sides of buildings.
I agree that scene was baffling. My problem more than the fact that he didn't need to be saved is that, like, what is going on with Kirk? Like, doesn't Kirk Connors want to kill him? His motivations are just never really made clear throughout.
To the side of the
thing. What's the problem?
All right, Jeff, I think I think this review is bad for your mental health.
Strokes that they're moving with here, like, is it that hard to assume, like, oh, he turns into a lizard, and that actually kind of removes some of his humanity, and now it's kind of tougher for him to deal with certain things, like, oh, I'm just gonna freaking kill everybody who doesn't agree with me or get this idea going. Like, I don't know what specifics exactly you're looking for.
Well, I think the issue is that you want to have some kind of sense of what it is the lizard transformation is doing to Kirk Connors. Like, is he upset by it? Is he invigorated by it? Like, you never get that. You never get the sense.
Way, the scene with the arm, like, as that arm is growing, I thought that was actually a pretty well done discovery thing. Like, oh, this is actually happening. This is disgusting and terrifying, and what's happening in my body. But this is amazing. Look at what I can do. I thought that particular scene worked well, and that's all we got. Really, like
that was cool, but you're not disputing my point, which is to say that, like, I mean, a lot of people are like, okay, this isn't the Peter Parker, this isn't the Kirk Connors that we know from the comic books, and there's something that's a little bit upsetting about that. I'm not even coming at it from that perspective. I just want to see Kirk Connors, like, react to the fact that, like, is he horrified at his transformation into lizard that he's killing? Like, what is going on in Kirk Connors' brain? Like, we just don't have any idea.
Actually, there's a bad scene that exemplifies that, like the scene where he's talking to, like, his subconscious or some sort of echo or something, which kind of echoes the Green Goblin scene, the great Willem Dafoe scene in the first Spider-Man.
Yeah,
so that's one of the weaker things. It seems like there was a checklist, and they tried to hit some of the things that made those initial movies good, and Spider-Man 2 as well. It's like you have the mentor character go bad, and then you have this sort of redemption at the end. Those are all knocks against this film, and I definitely agree it's a problem. I just wish they had kind of done more with it. And I'm not sure if how do you pronounce his name? Rhys Ifan?
Rhys Ifans? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if, like, he was pretty much just generic European smart dude. And I'm not sure if he really brought much to that role. Also, the way I remember that guy is that at Comic-Con during the Spider-Man panel, he apparently, like, caused a bit of a kerfuffle or something.
What did he do?
Drunk and abusive to some security guards.
Yeah, he was like drunk before the panel, and then he walked onto stage. Yeah, and he apparently shoved somebody, and there was this thing about potentially pressing charges. That never happened. But that's what I remember most about Rise of Fans.
I want to ask you a question about the Comic-Con. You guys were at the Comic-Con panel last year, right? For Amazing Spider-Man?
And we saw the Andrew Garfield, like, his announcement. Yeah.
Okay, couple things. First of all, Jeff, I do greatly appreciate your enthusiasm. Let me just say that. So I'm a big fan. And that's it. That's not even a caveat. I'm just saying that. Second thing is, when you guys were at the Comic-Con panel, they showed you some, like, 3D footage from the first-person scenes.
Yeah.
My understanding is that they showed a lot more of that at the panel than was actually in the movie.
Probably. I barely remember it, but yeah.
In the movie, there's
it's like Mirror's Edge. It's nothing too special either way, right?
Well, this movie overall has the feeling of a film that has been completely chopped to shreds in the editing room. And Jermaine Lucier wrote about this at /film.com, The Amazing Spider-Man, what was missing from the film, who is in the end credits, and more. He wrote this article kind of assessing, like, what is going on, what's missing. And this guy, I don't remember who it was, but he did this amazing supercut of all of the footage that Sony had released in advance of the movie. Like, if you guys are listening to the show, I'm sorry, go ahead, Devindra.
Like 25 minutes worth.
Yeah. So if you guys are listening to the show, you're not that familiar. Movie studios now, there's this trend to release more and more marketing material, like content from the movie in advance of a film. And it's getting It's getting to a ridiculous point where you can actually have seen a huge percentage of the movie before you actually see the movie. And that was the case with Spider-Man, where someone strung together all 25 minutes of content that had been released by Sony, like clips and trailers and all that stuff, into a supercut that was 25 minutes long, which is like a huge chunk of the final movie. And looking at that chunk, it's fascinating because there appear to be huge plot lines that have just been completely excised from the film. One of them is, like, what is the true genetic destiny of Peter Parker? Another one is, what happened to that Indian bad guy?
Yeah. Irfan Khan, who, by the way, I love in everything. And right. I'm glad to see him in this movie. I wish we had saw more of his role.
What happened to what happened to the ending? Like where did his plotline go? It just went nowhere. And the first trailer for this film reveals, like, a major scene that he was apparently is a scene basically where Lizard kills him, which is not in the final film. The speculation is that there's this untold story that was being marketed from the beginning, but that it did not test well. So at the last second, they decided to just edit all that stuff out of the movie, which I think shows.
Which, to be clear, is conjecture.
It's conjecture, but I mean, the movie feels really kind of hacked up, but based on facts like what is what is Kurt Connor's motivation? What happens to Irfan Khan? Questions like these linger throughout the film. Like, what happened to the Green Lizard men on the police? Like that may have been an original cut, or maybe it never ended up in the final film to begin with. There's a question of whether or not Peter Parker was responsible, or I mean, he is kind of responsible for. In the film for Kurt Connor's transformation, but that there was some way in the original film that perhaps he was more responsible. All these things kind of ended up leading to a movie it feels like half baked in the end.
He also never finds the guy that killed Uncle Ben.
Right. That plot line is just completely jettisoned as well.
That is one of the things we're saying. Like, oh my God, there are so many unexplored open situations in your life. It's like these are the things you'll have to deal with. I honestly that didn't bother me too much. Like, it didn't bother me that they didn't find Uncle Ben's killer, because his whole search for Uncle Ben's killer kind of led to the plot. Like, that was what led to a lot of the things happening in his situations with the police.
But
and
he never dealt with it again.
But
the problem is that doesn't feel character motivated, because he never had to deal with that, like, on an emotional level.
Mm-hmm.
You got to close it off. I agree with you, Devindra. You don't need to. It doesn't.
Excuse me. I'm just saying. I actually appreciate the fact that we didn't see. Maybe there was some other way to deal with it, with him not finding the serial killer or the killer who got Uncle Ben. But we needed some other scene.
Yes.
I actually don't mind not finding the killer right away, though.
Yeah,
I don't either. But you do need to address it.
Yeah, which the movie does not. And so that's kind of what ends up happening. Have we talked about the stinger at the end, guys? Do you guys stay for the stinger?
The credit scene?
So the stinger is the post-credit scene. I fled the theater as soon as possible, so I did not see it.
Well, you didn't miss anything.
First of all, describe what happens, Devindra or Jeff or whoever.
So,
one of you.
The lizard, Dr. Connors is in his jail cell, and this mysterious shadowy figure comes up and starts grumbling something. Do you remember specifically what it was, Jeff?
Well, I think we're supposed to believe that it's Norman Osborn.
I thought it was Norman Osborn, because that is who they're bringing up as like the shadowy supervillain of the series.
And I think that's probably shot that way because they haven't cast who they want to be as Norman Osborn. Yeah, so it's all it's just, hey, something else is happening. Is really the thesis is like, there's something else happening, but nothing specific. It's basically saying, does he know? Does Peter know? And he goes, no, he doesn't know. It's like, okay. So is there something else happening?
That was among the problems this movie has. That was actually a pretty big missed opportunity, unfortunately. Like, there's so much more you could have done to get people excited for the sequel, rather than just saying, well, sequel's going to happen, so fuck it.
Yeah, apparently
let's just watch this.
Apparently the trilogy's already been mapped out. Kurtzman and Orsi are on board, so we have nothing to worry about in terms of coherent plots.
One of the things I'm excited about with the fact that the movie made a lot of money is that I would love to see Garfield get another crack at this, and I feel like I said, there are a lot of elements that are ready to make a great Spider-Man movie. I think that there's the possibility of a great Spider-Man movie here. It just fell apart in the third act, and I hope the sequel fixes some of those problems. And I'm excited to see Garfield and Emma Stone, reprising those roles and doing something even more interesting next time.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. One of the theories about the shadowy figure, by the way, is that it's Peter Parker's dad, which I don't think is substantiated in any way. It's just like one of those crazy fan theories we're seeing at this point. But
and why not just show him in that case?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, we were already
that.
Introduced to him earlier in the film.
It borrows heavily from what Brian Michael Bendis did with the Ultimate version originally, and his dad ultimately was responsible for creating the serum which is basically the web fluid that creates venom, and Oscorp is really at the center of all the things that happen and creates a whole number of Peter Parker's rogues gallery. So I like that cohesion. I like how that all feels like part of the same origin point, and I think that could be really cool in subsequent movies. But I'm just hoping that it just feels. I think that it needs a more interesting villain. Lizard really was just big green strong guy. It wasn't.
Yeah,
There was nothing special about it.
Well, he wanted to make everyone perfect, Jeff. So there was.
Well, I did love the scene down in the sewer where Peter creates the web sonar thing.
Yeah.
That was a really cool concept we've never really seen before in a film, and it was visually interesting and super neat, except for the fact that, again, there's like 1,000 lizards for some reason.
I also liked, you know what I also liked in that scene is that he set up this elaborate camera setup to capture the lizard, and then the lizard took it and it had his name on it. That was also awesome.
Cool would it have been if the stinger, or not even the stinger, but just the end of the movie ended with him delivering those photos to J. Jonah Jameson, and we get that as a cool, lead into the next film. It would have been so awesome.
Yeah, well, okay, I hate to drag this out any longer than it has to be, but there's one other thing I want to point out, which is just what I was referring to earlier was when Gwen Stacy finds out that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. Doesn't seem like first of all, at that point in the film, we have very little sense of what the public perception of Spider-Man is.
Yes.
And that's a problem because then you don't even know what Gwen Stacy's baseline is, and then therefore you can have no sense of what what transformation she makes in order to accept it, which she doesn't. She seems to accept it instantaneously. Compare this to, I believe it was Spider-Man 2, when, spoilers, that's when the Kirsten Dunst character finds out about Peter Parker, right? And how invigorating it was that she was accepting of him, and how much of a nice character moment that was. This movie failed at doing that completely, and that was that scene and that event in particular helped to illuminate a lot of what I had problems with in this film.
I mean, it's definitely different that we don't see, Spider-Man in the newspapers and we see all the crazy media hype. But this one, I mean, the film is really focused on what the cops think of Spider-Man. And initially, they think he's just this crazy vigilante that they have to stop at all costs, despite all logic. But then you have the great scene on the bridge, which I think is pretty fantastic, where he saves the kid. And that worked. That worked for me, where he's actually saving people and saving the kid. What didn't work is the fact that the cops didn't realize that this was something happening. But that showed that at least normal people are they see this guy and they see him saving people.
I just wish, I understand the desire to make Spider-Man a cool hero character and have the city rise up and that sort of jingoistic, he's our guy from the streets and we're elevating him. But part of the thing that's so wonderful about Spider-Man throughout the years is that he's crapped on at school. He has girl problems. He can't make any money, and the entire city hates him. Spider-Man Menace is he's getting ripped to shreds in the media, and yet he still does the right thing. He straps on that costume and he goes out and he gets no recognition. No one likes him, but he still does it. And we never get any of that.
But that was the problem in Spider-Man 2, not Spider-Man 1. I feel like in terms of a single film, you can really only throw in so much conflict at this character. But I agree, we don't see the harsher aspects of Peter Parker, he's struggling to find a job or deal with school and stuff.
Instead of having the entire city in peril and having a huge cloud over the whole city, why not have Peter Parker in a struggle for his life and potentially for the life of Gwen Stacy in the back alley or in the sewer against the lizard, and no one knows about it. It's whispered about maybe one newspaper, the Daily Bugle, is trying to convince people that this is happening, and no one believes it, and he's still in jeopardy and in peril, but he gets no recognition, it's not a huge deal. It's just a huge deal for this kid. That's so much more interesting to me. And it's so much more that what I was hoping for from Mark Webb, indie, small scale, but personal, instead of large scale and,
meaningless.
Yeah.
Well, I think we can wrap it up there. I just want to say, Devindra, bravo, sir! You've been a real trooper defending this film, and
I guess I figured I knew what I was going to when you just hated it, Dave. But I mean, for the most part, guys, there's a lot of stuff going on when we're looking at this film, and I didn't want this film to exist. Going into it, I thought this film had no right to exist, and I think Sony was just being really greedy in terms of putting it together. But at the end of the day, we got something that actually has some decent actors doing some work that I thought was interesting, and I thought it was nice to see a different take on this character.
I don't disagree with that.
Yeah,
it's better
and I
than
hope
any Transformers movie.
Well, maybe that there it gets more complicated, but to me, this is a more satisfying movie than Spider-Man 3. because that movie to me crapped on all the great stuff Raimi built up. And this one, like, it's not trying to do as much, but in that way, like, it's a simpler film, and I kind of appreciate that. I don't think the sequel will have any chance at beating Spider-Man 2, though. And Jeff, the fact that you don't consider Spider-Man 2 one of the greatest movies ever made makes me think all your Spidey geekiness. I'm questioning it, Jeff. I don't know.
Don't get me wrong. I think Spider-Man 2 is the best of the Spider-Man movies, and I think it's in the upper half of superhero movies. I was never a fan of what Tobey Maguire did with the character, and there are still some moments in 2 that don't sit right with me. But yeah, it's not a bad movie.
Alfred Molina, guys.
Yeah,
like, I was just watching parts of that movie yesterday. It's like, my God, this movie is just like fantastic. And,
well, certainly preferable to Reese Ifans or Reese, whatever I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry.
He's in that list with Noomi Rapace and Idris Elba of real people whose names should be Star Wars characters.
There you go. Well, anyway,
I feel like we have to acknowledge just like, in my opinion, the best scene in the movie, and also the best Stanley cameo.
Yeah.
Excellent Stanley cameo.
Yeah, excellent Stanley cameo, and really, that was one of the few moments in the movie. Actually, the only moment in the movie when I felt some sense of wonder.
Ditto. Like that was the moment for me.
Yeah.
Oh, there was that, and I think when he discovered swinging with the skateboard, that was actually a pretty interesting scene too. Very different from what happened with Tobey Maguire.
But probably the best Stanley cameo out of all of them, in my opinion. So, well done there. Anyway, music from this podcast may come courtesy of AdamWarrock.com. That's Adam, WARROCK.com. You can find every episode of the Slash Filmcast at slashfilmcast.com. Email us. Let us know what you thought of Spider-Man. I have a feeling this is going to be a controversial episode yet again. At slashfilmcast@gmail.com. Jeff Kanata, where can we find more of your work on the internet this week?
The easiest way is to follow me on Twitter at Jeff Kanata with 2 N's and 1 T, or jeffkanata.com, also with 2 N's and 1 T. And you can also watch The Totally Rad Show every single day of the week, Monday through Friday at totallyradshow.com. I'm also on the Week in Confirm podcast and lots of other places. So very
cool. At Devindra Hardware, where can I find more of your work?
Oh, you can find me on Twitter at twitter.com/Devindra. I write about tech at venturebeat.com, and I also do a couple other podcasts. Everything else you can find at devindra.org.
Adam Quigley.
Slashfilm.com and twitter.com/alwayswatching.
Twitter.com/Dave Chensky. That's Dave Chen, SKY is where you can find me. Did someone say something?
Yes, can I say one more thing?
Please.
If any listener of the Slash Filmcast is going to be at Comic-Con, I hope you attend the Totally Rad Show panel Friday night at 8 o'clock in room 24 ABC. So I'd love to see Slash Film fans there.
Yes, and if you do, tell them Slash Film sent you. Adam Quigley, you going to Comic-Con this year? Or
I am not.
Okay. Well, that's too bad, because you're the closest out of all of us. But yeah, I think Comic-Con has done its number on us. You can find me at twitter.com/Dave Chensky and davechen.net. Also find the other podcasts I do at tobolowskifiles.com. I don't know what we're going to be reviewing next week, guys. So you're just going to have to download next week's episode and find out. But we'll figure it out, and we'll see you guys later. Thank you so much for listening to the official podcast of slashfilm.com. We're out.